May or June, and sitting at home, and I'm on my laptop, and we're having a Zoom meeting, like the four of us, and it's the first time that all four of us have talked in however long, right?
Yep.
And we keep running out of our 40 minutes, so we ended up having like 3 or 4 Zoom meetings that night.
That's right.
But I should go back and see if I have it. I've got like I took notes during the meeting, like of all the things that we had to get done, and I was doing it on my iPad. I'm using for Zoom right now, so I won't look at it. But it was so much, and it was so all over the place because we had no idea what the next step was, right? Like, that was about the time that we were talking about, like, okay, we're definitely moving forward with the duos. We don't know who we're going to have right for us yet. Once we're, like, looking past that now, right? Like, what the heck does mastering even mean? Do we know someone who can do that? How do we go about getting CDs? Is it important to try and get on streaming platforms? Does the same people who handle CDs handle streaming platforms? Wait a minute, if it's going to be an album, we have to have some kind of a digital artist. Does anybody know a digital artist? Do we want to try and talk to someone we know? Do we want to try and talk to someone else? This whole thing is about young people. Should we try and contact a young person? Do we want to just take the picture ourselves? What the heck is it going to be called? I remember that being like a forever discussion, what we're going to name it. Just like all of those questions that I didn't even know were going to be questions until we got to like the reality stage, right?
Yeah,
like every little...
We talked about like with the recording, like we didn't know what we were doing, like we didn't know. And then it was like, we didn't even know what we didn't know until it was like, okay, well, like, how do we really do this? And it's not like, yeah, like think about, you should do an album, like sometime, like and I'm sure a lot of musicians are planning on releasing an album at some point. And it's like you think about those things and you're like, oh, I wonder what it would be called and like what it would look like and what would I play? But it's like, no, like really, how do you do an album, And so we wrote out all those questions, and I remember one like significant thing we talked about for a long time was the label discussion, which we'll have to get into.
Yeah.
So,
dude, do you know what I remember? Like a lot, and I don't remember even who you contacted, but I remember you sent an email to someone asking, like, here are all of the questions we have. Can you answer any, like, just help us out with any of them? And I feel like we're getting into the label discussion now.
Sure.
But I remember the email that you got back, and you took, like, screenshots, and it was a long email, so there were, like, 4 or 5 screenshots, and you sent them in the group chat. And I think I read all the way through their response, like, 10 times. And even still, I was like, can you translate this? Because I don't, like, just some of the jargon they use and some of the, like, I feel like they do it so often and they do it so much that they skip critical steps, like just, oh, we're assuming we have digital art, we're assuming we have cover art, how do we get that?
I mean, and it's kind of funny because they're assuming that like you at least like kind of know what you're doing. We did not know what we're like. No, we don't know anything about anything. And thank goodness that we had at least some people in our corner who were like, okay, like this is what you kind of do. Like, we're not gonna hold your hand, but like, Dr. Nickel was a huge help. His recordings, recorded 7 studio albums with his quartet H2. Check them out. That's Infinity Mirror just dropped in the fall. Incredible. And so he knows what he's doing. But I really do think that he found it important for us to kind of find our way. And so he'd guide us, but he definitely wasn't going to be like, this is what, like, do this, and this. And so I really appreciated that because it really felt like we were paving our own path, which was hard and frustrating at times and scary. But now looking back, I'm like, oh man, that was the way to do it. Because it just feels, I don't know, it just feels so much better. And we all feel, I assume we all feel like we at least have a little bit more of understanding, even though you and I are constantly just being like, man, how did we get here? I don't know.
I know.
And so yeah, let's get into the label discussion because this is big, I feel. And I feel like we're really, I'm again, we're going to be totally honest here and just lay it all out. But what's interesting with Convergence, our album, is it is not on a label. It is self-published, you might say. I don't even know if that's the right term with albums. I know it is with research and stuff and like know, music, but and books, etc. We're self-published with our CD, and so we're not on a label. And so why don't you talk about our mindset with that and like how we came to that conclusion?
I mean, it was a lot of different discussion, right? It was
Yeah.
like, is it necessary? Is it practical? Is it whatever? I think the thing that it came down to for all of us was, is this something that we see like, just, yeah, as crass as it may sound, like this is not a venture that any of us are using to make money, right? Like we're not trying to make any kind of profit from this. We're just trying to put out this stuff. Like I said, I love making music with my friends. I just want to make music with my friends. I want to share that music with the world. I'm not trying to make money. And that was sort of the big difference between trying to get hooked up with a label and self-publishing in my eyes. I mean, I know there are a whole lot more factors to consider, but I just feel like with the label, they handle a lot of the logistical stuff that we had to take care of, right? Like trying to actually get the physical CDs and get them made and get them ordered and get them processed. They will handle a lot of that, but it creates a whole new set of issues, right? Like where exactly is copyright ownership or all of these licensing issues that then, I mean, and I understand that they'd be responsible for it, right? It's not something that we can just handle between us and between the composers of MCI. So it's really just a trade-off, right? You're trading off some issues for others, some hoops for others. But the big thing for us, the big motivation to self-publish was that we didn't want to... This album, as much as we love it, I don't ever see it being mass-produced, right? I don't ever see it being consumed by a general population. So
no, I mean, not until... Classical Saxophone Quartet just breaks the populace, like into popular music.
That's right.
Maybe it will. 2021, baby. It's going to be the year.
Who the heck knows?
Who the heck
UFOs,
knows? That's what I'm saying.
People breaking into the Capitol and...
See, but that's what I'm saying. Now you're saying UFOs. You're not saying aliens anymore. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Yikes.
We don't...
Yikes.
Don't give me that. Don't give me that. Okay, so... Yeah, my thing with it was you just had to look at, again, when is it professional? Like, when is it real? Because it's kind of interesting how it seems like with research in academia, in higher ed or whatever, and that's where a lot of research is done, it just doesn't seem like it's legitimate unless it's published, which is interesting. Because on the flip side... I think once a record or a recording is on a streaming service, that is when it is real. That is when it is like, I mean, that is how it's going to be consumed. And so it's just interesting how it just, for us, it didn't seem like it was necessary for it to be legitimate. And God knows we may be wrong in that, again, we're just paving our way. We don't know what we're doing. And so... But it just seemed like at the time when we were discussing this and making that decision, it wasn't crucial to be part of a label, So, yeah. I mean, that's the conclusion we came. And so we decided to not pursue that. And we just self-published. And it's copyright to us. If you look at the back and it says, where it is on the little text, it says copyright Zenith Saxophone Quartet. And it's just...
2020 Zenith Saxophone Quartet.
That's us. And so it's just, it is ours and it's not anyone else's. And so, that's it, and that's how we came to that conclusion.